What's up there, Eco Fam? Hey, I wanted to talk to you guys about a little something called the Phosphorus Paradox. Has anyone ever heard of peak oil, which means like the time that we're going to run out of oil? Well, there's a little thing called peak phosphorus, the time that we're going to run out of phosphorus. Phosphorus is a finite resource here on planet Earth, and we're using a little bit too much, just like we're doing with the oil. But there's a big difference between the two. First of all, when we run out of oil, we can also use solar, wind, all these renewable energy sources that I promote that we've figured out how to use as humans, that are sustainable. However, there's no replacing phosphorus, guys. You cannot do it. It is essential to life. It makes up the ATP process, essential for the ATP process, like energy production in plants and animals. It makes up our membranes, our cell membranes. Not only that, but it's the crucial foundation for a little thing called DNA, which is pretty important for life, all life. Now, think of it like this. Originally, that phosphorus cycle, that phosphorus is in the sedimentary rock, in those dinosaur bones. When it rained, it would naturally leach out into the soil, providing phosphorus for the plants that in turn go into the animals that eat the plants, and then the animals that eat the animals that eat the plants. That's how it's always worked. However, with humanity, we've almost turned more into a parasite by definition, because we're destroying our host. Now, our population has gotten so high that we have to mine for that phosphorus. We don't have enough time for it to rain enough to leach out naturally. We've got to dig it up out of the earth to support population. This is a especially important topic for those of you that are trying to be in the phosphate mining fight against Mosaic. You need to understand that there is no replacement for phosphorus. So instead of being against phosphate mining, you need to just be more against Mosaic and the process in which they get the rock out. It'll be hard to convince the world to starve to death. Because we need plants in our farm so we can eat them and sell them to you, whatnot. We won't convince the world to starve to death to save Florida's ecosystem. However, I do think that we can alter the way that we extract that rock and the process between extraction and remediation. Because we all know that remediation that Mosaic does isn't exactly ideal. But I think that's where you guys need to really focus your attention, because when we say no phosphate mining, you're literally telling educated people that it's better to starve to death to save a dolphin. Personally, I'd rather starve to death to save a dolphin, but I don't think anybody else is ready to do that from what I've gathered in this last 7 months. We need to understand that peak phosphorus, a lot of scientists say, will happen in 2030, when we've hit the amount of phosphorus that we will run out. Now, other big ag scientists say that that's not true. That we have at least, I think it was 240 years. 140 years. We have another 140 years before we run out of phosphorus. Is that sustainability, guys? Whether it's 2030, 12 years from now, 11, whatever, or if it's 140 years from now, I think that is reason to want to change how we use phosphorus. If it's 100% necessary for agriculture, and 100% necessary for my DNA and my cell membranes and my energy production, then maybe we should just simply stop wasting it so much. You know, there are other methods for recycling phosphorus. This is where you get biosolids. Now, a lot of people are against biosolids, and I, for one, am too right now. Biosolids is when you're taking a sewage sludge and using that as a phosphorus source to apply back in agricultural fields. You know, the idea is good. The phosphorus that we eat and take in, instead of wasting, we put it back in and recycle it. It's a great idea. However, you know, most humans are eating terrible foods, and half of us are junkies. Whether that be pills that we're prescribed to, or drugs that we're not supposed to take, or all these different things. But in biosolids, we find pharmaceutical chemicals, all these different things. You know, they found, I think, 44 different chemical compounds of personal care products and pharmaceuticals, etc., in one single sample. So yeah, until we can start to change how we're doing things, or get a better filter to take all that stuff out, which we cannot do right now, I think that it's vital that we preserve the phosphorus that we have. You know, and that's exactly why I started working for this Greener Solutions company. They're the sole distribution rights for a Biofeed fertilizer here in the state of Florida. And what Biofeed fertilizer is a non-toxic, biodegradable, 100% soluble source of fertilization. So the phosphorus that we use, for example, in a granular form that we put down in our fields, whether that be in our yards, in our plants, or in our ag fields, the plant can only take in about 15% of that phosphorus. So where does the other 85% go? It gets tied up into the soil, and it eventually makes its way into our water. So not only are we wasting 85% and putting it into the ecosystem, but that's 85% of your money that you're spending on your fertilizer bill that you're wasting. You know, with Biofeed fertilizer, for example, that doesn't happen anymore. That plant can take in all of that phosphorus. And not only that, but it has a chelator in it. It's where it can actually chelate and melt down the other locked up nutrients from the bad fertilizers that we use, making it accessible to the plant. So the corn gets it, or the grass gets it, or your shrub gets it, versus ended up in our waterways. You know, if we want to address nutrient pollution, then we're going to have to do it. And one easy way to do that is through Biofeed fertilizers. You know, I wouldn't get behind something that I don't truly believe in, and this is real science, using an amino carbon technology that can split a water molecule in half. So you're adding oxygen to the water in the soil. And that's like a Wi-Fi booster for all those little homies that live underground and in the water that we can't see, all of our microorganisms. So this is a key way to help be on the good side instead of the bad side. Think about that. Phosphorus is essential to life, and we're going to have to use it. You will not be able to convince an educated person to ban phosphorus. That's essential for all of us. Like, anyone who could do that does not understand biology. So I think it's vital to understand, to be against the process in which we do the extraction and the amount of water used. We can make this a lot safer. I'm not in support of destroying ecosystems, but I also know that humanity's not ready to just hang up their hat and give up. So let's use the phosphorus right. Let's use soluble phosphorus instead of that stuff that we just keep wasting and wasting, guys. Whether it's 11 years from now or 140 years from now, I think it's time that we start learning how to use fertilizer better. or we're going to start seeing more and more algae blooms because climate change increases, giving it the ideal circumstances to grow. Love you dudes. Keep your chins up. See ya.